Welcome to the Granny Square Calculator. This tool is to simplify your crocheting projects so that you don't have to spend time on numbers or calculations, and you can just get the size of the item that you want and automatically learn how many granny squares you need to make. Now, really quick, when you look across the bottom here, you can see that we have 4 pages. The 4th page is just instructions, the very thing that we're going over now. If you go back here to the first page that is titled Blankets, what you have at the very top is width in inches, height in inches. This is where you're going to tell us how big each granny or the granny square that you made is. Okay, so when you finished the granny square, you measured it out, it was 5 inches by 5 inches. What happens now, and everything right below that is again just instructions, but we're covering that now. So you've put in your granny square measurements. If you just scroll down, all you have to do then is find what size blanket you want to make. If you're looking to make a twin size blanket, right here, the measurements are 65 inches by 90 inches. It's telling you that you will need to have 13 granny squares going across the width of your blanket, 18 granny squares going the height of your blanket. Total, you're going to make 234 squares to complete this blanket. Say you wanted to make a baby blanket though, same size granny squares. You'd come over to this section, right? This said baby blankets, so we're scrolling down. This baby blanket is 14 inches by 14 inches. So with 5-inch granny squares, what you know here is just look at this first whole number. You're going to make your granny square blanket 2 granny squares wide and 2 granny squares tall. So yep, you'll make 4 granny squares total. But what this does right down here is so that you get that full size of 14 inches by 14 inches. It's letting you know that you'll need 2 inches of trim on each side of the blanket and 2 inches of trim on the top and the bottom of the blanket. Same thing, what if you were going to make a stroller size blanket? This one's 30 inches by 36 inches. You're still using those 5-inch by 5-inch granny squares. Now you can see that you would have 6 inches wide across your blanket. You would do 7 granny squares tall. You'll need to make a total of 42 granny squares. And then here, because this is blank, you don't need any trim on either side to get the right size, but you need 1 inch of trim on the top and 1 inch of trim on the bottom to get the correct size for this blanket. So that's how it works. You come up here and you input, if you're making a giant granny square, the size of that, and it automatically changes all of the calculations for you so that you can come down here and knowing that you're going to make a queen size bed, right? 5 granny squares wide, 5 tall, make 25 total. You'll need 5 inches of trim on the bottom and on the top of your blanket. Now, what if you wanted to make a custom size blanket? What you need to do here, what is the width that you want? Say you wanted an 80-inch wide blanket and you wanted it to be 95 inches in height. So now, because you still need to tell it how many granny squares you've made, they're 18 inches by 18 inches. It's letting you know, make 4 of them across, 5 of them in the height, 20 total. You'll need to have 4 inches of trim on either side of the blanket, 3 inches of trim for the bottom and the top. Okay, so that was blankets. When we come over here to pillowcases, though, it's everything the exact same way. All you need to do is find the white square. The white squares are where you put in the information of what size your granny square is. All the calculations then are automatically done for you. You don't have to put in any information here. So if you had granny squares 3 inches by 3 inches and you were going to make a standard pillowcase, you would do 6 wide, 8 tall, 48 total, an inch on either side, an inch trim for top and bottom. If you wanted to customize this again, most pillowcases, as you can see, are 20 inches wide. But say you had a custom you made pillow, it's 16 inches and it's by 20 inches. So again, you only put information in a white square right here. And then it calculates with the size of granny squares you said you made, exactly how many you need to make total, how many of those will go across the wide, how many will go the height, and any amount of trim. And last but not least, our third page comes to if you wanted to make scarves or belts, you wanted to add seam extenders to your jeans or your child's pants, or just add any trim to anything you can think of. This is where all of this comes into play now. On this page, yes, there are some standard scarf sizes already here for you. Again, it will automatically calculate everything for you. Belts, if you are wanting to create a belt, here's some information to help you kind of understand what size you want to make. So what if you wanted to make a jean belt for your jeans? You needed that 1.5 inches wide. Let's say you're making it for your husband. Well, let's say you're making it for yourself and your waist is 36 inches and it says that the belts are best to have 2 inches longer. So you know you need a 38-inch belt. Notice though that I don't have anything that's calculated because we've not yet told it what size my squares are. So, okay, I have a 1-inch granny square by a 1-inch granny square. Boom. I can come back down here to the customize. I need 38 of these squares made. I will have one for the width, 38 of them for the entire length. And now you only needed 1/2 inch. And so in this case, that's why it gave you a 0, because it's not a full number measurement. So at this point, nope. The measurements do not give you if your trim would be anything less than 1 inch. So this, yeah, you can go ahead and just kind of keep a note to yourself if you want it to be that exact size, or, you know, just decide that your belt is only going to be 1 inch wide. Whatever's going to work best for you. That just keeps the calculations though from becoming nightmarish. So guys, that is everything. I hope that this tool ends up serving you very, very well, especially now that we're getting closer and closer to the holiday season and people are wanting to make more and more gifts. Now you can just come in here and find out exactly how many different granny squares you're going to need to make for all of those great gift items that you've got going on. Happy crocheting.